Brain Stuff, I have a deeply concerning question for you today. What happens when I die? And I don't mean like, will I go to heaven or who gets all my Gru comic books. No, I want to know what somebody's going to do with my dead body when it's on a slab of cold steel. How does an autopsy work? Well, first of all, a word of warning for our viewers. If you're squeamish, you might want to watch a less gross episode of Brain Stuff, like Why is Bird Poop White? Or How do Bed Bugs Work? Okay, ready? Let's start by clarifying that an autopsy is a medical examination of a dead body to determine the cause of death. There's two types, forensic and clinical. Clinical ones are performed for research, medical training, or at the request of the deceased's family. And forensic autopsies are the ones you're used to seeing on TV, like when Agent Scully carves into a corpse because the truth is in there. This is often for legal reasons, potentially as evidence in criminal or civil court cases. While the general procedure is similar, for our purposes, let's stick to forensic autopsies. Why? 'Cause I ain't going out like a punk. All legally investigated deaths fall into 5 categories: natural, accident, homicide, suicide, and undetermined. Yeah, that last one may seem a little wishy-washy, but sometimes the answers aren't that clear for the attending medical examiner or coroner. And this is an important distinction. Forensic pathologists are physicians trained to perform autopsies. In some counties, they use coroners instead. And a coroner doesn't necessarily have medical training. They're elected to their position. They can be anyone: farmers, snake handlers, even YouTube hosts. But if a non-medical coroner ever needs assistance, the state usually provides them with a medical examiner. When that examiner finally gets a hold of your cold body, here's what they'll do to it. First, they gather information on you, your death, and your medical records. Then they record an external exam of your appearance. They start by photographing you inside a body bag, noting your clothing and its position before stripping you naked. They try to establish your identity, noting ethnicity, gender, age, and hair and eye color. Then they collect samples of hair, fingernails, and any foreign objects found on your surface. Once the external exam is done, they clean your body, weigh it, and measure it. On the table, they place a rubber body block under your back to make your chest protrude forward so the arms and neck fall back. This makes it easier for the cutting. For a complete internal exam, they start with the chest, making a Y-shaped incision. Following this, they peel back your skin, muscle, and soft tissue with a scalpel, pull the chest flap over your face, and expose your ribcage and neck muscles. Your ribcage is then removed, followed by your larynx, esophagus, arteries, and ligaments. By severing a few attachments to your spinal cord, bladder, and rectum, the examiner can remove the rest of your organs as an entire set. Your organs are each examined and weighed, with sample slices taken of their tissue. If necessary, these organs are stored in formalin. Depending on how you died, they probably won't cut open your arms, hands, legs, or face. But don't think your head is off the hook just yet. If they need a peek inside your noggin, the examiner will move the rubber block under your neck like a pillow. Then they make a cut from behind one ear, across your forehead, over to the other ear, and then around the back. Then out comes the electric saw to pop the top of your skull off like a cap and expose your brain. This is severed from your spinal cord and then lifted out Frankenstein style. Just like your other organs, it's weighed and examined. What happens to all of those organs sitting outside of your body anyway? Depending on the style of funeral, they are either put back in or incinerated. Either way, the butterfly chest flaps are closed, the skull cap is placed back on your head, and everything is sewn up nice and tidy with a baseball stitch. Though even after your body goes off to the funeral home, a pathologist's work is never done. It takes days to get tissue and blood samples tested, and at least 2 weeks for brain samples. Then it takes hours more to write up a detailed report for the official record. Keep in mind that this is a brief overview of the autopsy process. We didn't even get into examining wounds, determining the time of death, or what tools of the trade are used to crack you open.
Prince?
Bang, bang, bang.
Fingerprint. Luminol test.
My name is Matthew Steiner.
Matt Steiner is a senior crime scene analyst and veteran investigator of over 21 years.
Today we're going to break down the portrayal of forensic science in TV and movies. As we're critiquing these clips, understand that their goal is to entertain, and they definitely do that. The Wire Trajectory Analysis. First off, the gun safety in this was it was comical and not realistic. You wouldn't take a loaded weapon and start waving it around at a crime scene.
Fuck.
Initially, the original crime scene investigator on the scene should have took note of directionality.
Motherfuck.
We do that by looking at the conchoidal fracturing of glass to see which direction the force is going.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.
So we would have known in this case originally that the bullet was coming from outside to the inside of the kitchen. So what they do from that point is they try to figure what would the trajectory line be from that bullet hole through our deceased body, which way was that bullet going?
Fucking A.
Lo and behold, there is the bullet in the door.
Motherfucker.
From that point, I think we deviate from reality. We wouldn't just start picking at that hole. They could be destroying rifling that's on that bullet. And that's what really we're going to send to the lab to do some sort of analysis compared to a suspect's gun.
After the call to 911, once the cops and the coroner have gone, things must be put back in order, even when things will never, ever be the same. It's gruesome work, but someone's got to do it. When a life ends in the worst possible way in the vicinity of Maryland or Washington, D.C., it's often a cue for Louise Burkhart to start work. Louise excels at a job few want, and even fewer could stand to do.
I go out to scenes of homicides, suicides, decomposed remains, or any kind of biological incident and clean up and restore it to the situation that it was prior to the incident occurring.